Jane Allison's 2019 book, Meander, Spiral, Explode, explores the different ways writers can approach narrative structure. The default dramatic arc, which most of us are taught in school, is the Aristotelian arc, which means rising action, climax, denouement. It's pretty standard ramp-shaped diagram, which Allison compares to a masculocentric orgasm. Inciting incident, rising tension, release, sleep. It's she's right. Like, it's a great structure, but she is also right. Sorry, let me start that over. She's right. It's still a great structure, but it is a bit dull because it's fucking everywhere. Thinking back to our last episode of this show, the pre-code classic, The Old Dark House, I can't help but wonder if the Hays Code, besides setting in motion a strict devotion to white supremacy, patriarchy, and heteronormative thinking, also set us down a long path of standard Aristotelian arcs, heroes' journeys, and the likes. It's very male. It points, it directs, it thrusts. It's a truly phallic narrative structure. The first film I remember seeing that fucked with a straight narrative arc was Pulp Fiction. It's not the first film to do this, I know, but it was my first. Anyway, Pulp Fiction didn't allow viewers to see everything in order. In fact, the central story of Jules and Vince in the diner happens at the very beginning. The climax of the movie begins just as Amanda Plummer raises her gun, and then the title card kicks in. We don't return to this dramatic peak until the very end of the movie. But all of that said, Pulp Fiction is simply an Aristotelian arc chopped up with time. Its shape is not circular, erratic, or shattered. It's just a rectangular jigsaw puzzle that hasn't been fully put together. But the 2018 Western horror film The Wind is a meandering spiral. I mean that mostly in a good way. The plot is chopped up in time, swinging back and forth from present to past. There's a fully linear plot in there, but the characters' arcs are circular, particularly Lizzie's. Her emotions and choices circle back on themselves. She is trying to make change, but the gravity of the past doesn't allow her to shoot out of orbit. The plot teases out and pays off the question of what really happened here. But the narrative structure of the movie is not about resolution. It's about the physical space in which she lives. And I found it refreshing to see Aristotle's dramatic ideas so resolutely ignored for a much more fascinating layout. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Except for bugs and rodents, have you ever killed an animal for food, sport, or protection?
Food.
Sport, protection. No.
Sport. I mean, like, maybe there was a fish in there going fishing,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how to clean and gut a fish. So if it was, my dad did it, but I don't remember eating it. So I think that's a no.
Yeah.
Food, sport, or protection.
You ever like shot a bear?
No.
Or a goat that you thought might have been possessed
I was like,
by
that
a
goat
prairie
was looking
demon?
at me all crazy, like, kill it. No. I'm pretty. Listen, this is where I'm at right now. I've had about 25 roommates for the last couple of months. They are box elder beetles.
Oh dear.
They have gathered outside my house by the hundreds, and literally just my apartment. I live in an apartment complex, but literally whatever juju I'm giving out, these box elders are like, we want to be near you. And there's some through the casing of my window joint, there must be some narrow passage that goes into. So I get like, 0.5% of them inside my apartment, but I refuse to kill them. They just generally they're fascinating creatures. They're very pretty to look at. They're weird, and I just sort of let them live. Although every time I go outside, I'm like, y'all gotta find another home eventually because this looks like madness.
I wonder what it is that's drawing them there.
My love.
There's
my soul, my spirit.
They hear your voice.
I mean,
it's the voice of an angel.
That's it. The voice of an angel. I mean, there's two big trees, but like there's trees all over North Carolina. I don't know, Jeffrey. I think it's my loving spirit.
I think it is. Your aura is very strong.
That's right.
So we watched this movie. I found this movie really fascinating I'm curious your thoughts, just overarching thoughts on this movie. So I watched this movie last night, And I couldn't help but to like find it fascinating in the way that I find like some contemporary art really fascinating. Like, this is really cool the way you've done this. I think this is a neat technique. But I didn't really, in looking at the painting, as it were, I wasn't feeling anything from it. Like, I didn't come away being like, boy, that was a dope fucking painting. That was a dope ass movie. It's so smart, but I didn't get the sense of like uh horror or emotional tension or things like that. I think it's a really, I don't know if you had the same response. I just wanted to start
A
with that because
bit.
it's a hard movie to
Yeah.
sort of unpack feelings about.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's no, like I think you're right. And the introduction, it was spot on because I had a moment about maybe halfway through. I was like, oh, I get the game now.
Uh-huh.
And it was all on that blue dress. I was like, okay, as long as we have her in a blue dress, and which she then changes, but like I was like, that is quote present day
Yes.
in the story. And anytime she's not in a blue dress, that is sometime in the past. But it took me a full 30 minutes to get onto the bus.
Yes. It yeah, I think it does that in a really cool way. I think describing it as a game is a really good term,
Yeah.
because I had the same thing where I was trying to figure out. I got the sense we were going to jump around in time because it feels like a movie that starts at the end,
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
feels that way. Not really. It actually kind of starts in the middle.
Mhm.
But it well, we'll set that up, right? Like,
Or something.
it's yeah. What it starts with is nighttime in front of this house, and there's just two men in the foreground, backs turned to the camera, and in the center is a woman emerging from the house, and she is covered in blood and holding a we
Holding
never
a baby.
see the baby, but the
Yeah.
baby's all wrapped up, and we understand it to be dead.
And just
Um,
I was like, I don't know what just happened to that house, but whatever it is, I think it went wrong.
Do you think that did you have some red flags there that things weren't
No,
going
it's just like
well?
I don't know what's going on. Like, because like that doesn't. I mean, did maybe she gave birth to that baby?
Who even
She's
knows?
holding a baby,
And there's two
but
men
she
there.
seems very calm to have just given birth herself while two dudes stand outside. And then one of the guys kind of like throws his hands up in the air and goes, "Ah, God, darn sarn it!"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, whatever happened to that house? Something went wrong."
Yes. Something went very wrong.
And then title card.
Title card
Movie.
and discordant cello. That's how we
Oh my
know
God!
things went
Listen,
wrong.
I gotta say, I just saw Tar last week,
Okay.
so I have a bit of like, like, have you seen Tar yet,
I
Jeffrey?
haven't watched it yet. No.
There's one point. I mean, she's a monster. I mean, she's like the character is a monster. I
Yeah.
mean, she's kind of an asshole. Let's be real. But she does have this one moment where she's like looking at the score of a very modern piece of music, like post 21st century, like post Philip Glass kind of thing, and it's like draw the bow across a turtle's back kind of. I was like, oh, it's that kind of soundtrack, is it? You're like, there are no notes, there is only a diagram kind of modern music.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie feels very 21st century. It feels very
Yeah.
modern. It's way more art housey than I was anticipating it to be. I didn't do any reading up on this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
always feel like I have to
Well,
do
it's an
that.
IFC. I know it clocked it was an IFC midnight
Yep.
thing. So I was like, I guess here's the thing. I was expecting a bit more pandemonium.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I maybe it's just that IFC logo because they have a tendency to do like very dark, very bold, like it's a brand that they have created at IFC Midnight that's very like independent cinema, not for kids. Like
Yes.
this is gonna
Yeah.
be you might see some weirdness. And then as the movie went on, like I liked a lot of things about this movie, but I don't think it ever really pushed my horror buttons. Is the thing.
It didn't for me either. It's got some elements to it that I
Yeah.
think are really cool horror devices, horror bag of tricks sort of stuff. But it's yeah, it just
But no
feels
more
like a
than
pretty cool relationship drama, family
yeah,
drama.
like
Yeah.
no more than you know, than like a Swedish art house film
Yeah.
would be, in which you're like, I don't know what's happening here, and this character is terrified, but I'm not terrified. kind of
There's
stuff.
this movie is also very uh spacious, just as the landscape of New
Ooh.
Mexico in this film is present, and it is wide open space with distant mountains and sagebrush and whatever else.
Yeah,
So is the dialogue in this movie. I would
geography.
imagine you could compress if you took the screenplay and you
Yeah.
only included spoken words, this is probably 2 pages long.
Yeah, like for
There's
real,
not
that's
much.
not an exaggeration.
No.
There were times where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get a snack.
Uh-huh.
I think I made half a full meal while this film was going on, and I don't think I missed much,
No.
except maybe some crying
Yeah.
and some shots of sagebrush tumbling through the breeze.
Yeah.
But then I was back and I was like, oh, oh,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want
I,
to dunk on this movie,
I
but
don't
it
I don't
was
either, actually. I really don't. I really
it
like
was
this
but
movie.
you're
But
right.
yeah.
It was very quiet. Listen, somebody once described, I can't remember where she got this. I think like in some Eastern European director, she's an actress that she had worked with. And she said, there are certain films that come to you. And, based on your introduction, we can call those maybe masculine films that are very in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Shaft, James Bond, like it lays it all out. Bow. That's the Fast and Furious. And then there are other films that you must lean into the
Mm-hmm.
film. And this is definitely one of those.
Yeah. So it is, I checked the timer on this movie, and it is 6.5 minutes before the first word is spoken. And even that first word is, it's a very wide shot of three people, and they're kind of muttering to each other. So the captions don't even kick on at that point. But having said all of that, I really enjoyed the long silences, especially early in this film. I liked that it was making that choice, and I actually found that the movie was clipping along. There are certain points where
Once we got on the bus, then we're like, oh shit, okay, now
yeah,
we're in it. But yeah, I think you're
but
right. Like the filmmaker really said, no, this is how quiet this movie is going to be. This is how spacious this movie is going to be, because this is reflecting psychologically the landscape that this woman is trapped in.
yes,
This, in a weird way, this is kind of like a yin yang to that Australian kangaroo movie we watched.
oh, the Wake and Fright.
Wake and Fright. If that was like the most masculine trapped in the middle of nowhere movie, this is like the most feminine trapped in the middle of nowhere movie I think we've seen on the show.
Yeah, I agree. I very much agree. We got to this because we rolled woman creator, director, screenwriter, and I think we got that so strongly here, because I think this is not, I don't know. I hate generalizing entirely on gender, but I do think this is a movie that is not necessarily a movie that a man directs at all. That
I agree.
This man directs.
I gotta say, I mean, it's also very felt in the way the characters interact with each other. Like, who has the lines? Who has the camera? Who holds the camera's space? Who holds the camera's eye? And listen, it is Caitlin Garrard as Lily Macklin and Julia Goliani Tells as Emma. These two women are phenomenal.
They're great.
The two guys, yeah, they're fine. Like, the dude who's in Fear Street as, like, yeah, he's fine. He's nice to look at, but boring as dishwater.
Yeah,
because two women are fucking fascinating, and like fair, like, just trying to figure out Lizzie is like a full-time job in this movie. Just trying to figure out, what is she, a demon? Is she possessed by a demon? Is she seeing demons? Is the demon following her? Is the demon just like pranking her? Is the demon in her husband? Is that like it's constant with this Lizzie chick.
Yeah. So after our title card, that was Lizzie that was on the porch at the opening sequence. And so we are going to jump back in time, and we see Lizzie in her bath. This is late 19th century, somewhere on the prairie frontier, I think, from the notes in Wikipedia, that it's New Mexico. Yeah. And we see this, we see Lizzie in her bath, and it's very like out damn spot sort of thing, like trying to scrub.
Well, and she's marked.
Yeah. On her wrist.
There's some sort of weird sigil.
Yeah.
Which will come up later.
And her husband Isaac enters, and it's just, again, more just long, silent tension.
And she is looking at that gun, and she's all naked in the bath, and there's a man, and you don't know it's one of the men. And I'm like, is she captured? Like, Yeah, what
Hmm?
is she trying to kill him? Does she love him?
I
Both?
love this is where I loved the silence in the opening because it is all questions, and
Yeah.
questions are way more interesting than plot at
Truth.
times, depending on how they're laid out. And yeah,
Sometimes.
sometimes, yes,
Depending on how many questions you have to juggle at once.
yeah, and I think here it's like I'm learning the rules of the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to jump around on me in time, and you're not going to tell me character names for a bit. You're not going to tell me
Yeah.
when, why, where we are. And all of this, and also who this man is, because we know shit went wrong. So now we're like, wait, what is this later? Is this
Is she
a
the
go?
reason for the shit?
Yeah.
Is she clean? But apparently she was cleaning up the shit, but also maybe she was a demon. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, who knows? We'll get more into that soon. So then we see a woman in a green dress being buried, and this is
the
Emma.
fucking top of her head is blown right off.
Yeah.
So we know that gun will be used
Yes.
to kill Emma.
It's like Chekhov said, like if you're gonna have a gun go off in the first act, the gun has to be shown in the fifth act.
Yes,
it's a
that's right.
reverse Chekhov.
You have to show the gun to the patrons when they buy their ticket, and then you ask them to kill themselves after the show is over.
That's right. So, and they bury the baby with her, and the two men, dig the grave. They lower the coffin into the grave. And we jump ahead to these two men are leaving on horses. They're going into town. They're doing whatever.
Which again was so confusing because it was like, like I think, like I thought I was watching a movie in linear time. So it's just like, whatever just happened, these two dudes are fucking right off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that seems odd, or maybe not. And
I mean,
and
it
all we
fits
know
with
is
what
that
we
Isaac,
know about them later.
Right. And we know that Isaac has some lovey-dovey relationship with Lizzie. We kind of get that by the way they look at it. Everything those two actors were giving seemed partnered.
Yeah.
And all he says is, keep your wits about you. And I'm like, you keep wait, and also, what happened to my gun? Why'd she have my gun? Why do you have why does everybody have my gun but me?
Yeah.
Seemed to be the question that Lizzie wants to ask.
Yeah, this question of like, where are you boys going? Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, my first thought was, I got this that Isaac and Lizzie are married, and all I could think of was, yeah, it looks like y'all's friend just died from suicide. So, maybe you could stay with your wife a bit, see if she's okay, rather than being like, yeah, I got to go down to the price chopper. It's 15 miles into town, so it'll be a couple days.
We need some more, I don't know, wool or
can you get half and half?
Yeah, you can run out and get half and half. Please don't die of dysentery. Have fun.
Right. and don't get that Duncan shit. I just need 8 o'clock.
Oh, good Lord, no. Yeah.
Okay, so
but now we know she is alone in this
She is
house.
alone in the house, and there is still blood on the kitchen table.
I love this sequence.
This is good. This is great horror work right here of watching somebody clean the blood off the table.
And again, this is where, like, listen, this is why there is room for everybody at the table. Like, when you have female-driven films, you don't see the bang, bang, bang. You see what happens afterwards, and that is almost more important than the bang, bang, bang. We all know what bang, bang, bang looks like because we've all been conditioned by watching a lot of male-dominated filmmaking.
Yeah.
But I was like, can you imagine this woman is like, well, my theoretical, because we still don't know what the fuck is going on, best friend died on my kitchen table.
Yeah.
And if I want to make a cup of coffee or a scrambled egg, I must clean her blood off of it first.
Yes.
Like, that's brutal, man.
And they used all their linens and towels and stuff for whatever this was. So she's got to clean all that. It's such a good point you made, because I thought about this after watching the movie about the evolution of death in Hollywood films, right? Like the evolution of, let's say a gun death. Sure. And when you watch really old-timey Westerns, there's a lot of like bang, and then you see a man in a wide shot just clutch his chest and fall over.
And then falls off a 2-story building.
Yeah. But like dead bodies are just like stage actor dead bodies, right? I just lay on the ground and that means I'm dead. Your arms are splayed, whatever. And then there came a point where we started adding blood to it, and it mostly was just like blood splatter or like a blood packet in the chest. And then we added, especially when we got into practical effects in the 80s and even on into CGI, where we said, you know what? I can show brains splitting apart. I can show all kinds of gross graphic stuff about what it means to die violently. And here, looking at the aftermath of a death is, I think, a new level of how we look at the gruesomeness of the way the human body can expire, and also the fact that Emma is gone. So what somebody leaves behind when they die is their body, and or the parts of their body or their blood or whatever it is.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But somebody's got to sweep that dust up into a fucking pan.
Yeah, and that was something that a movie like Sunshine Cleaners, like or Sunshine Cleaning, I can't remember the exact title, but Amy Adams was, deals with specifically like the aftermath of death, what it means to care for somebody and what it means to clean up from somebody. Anyways, again, terrifying, unnerving, and perfect. I just thought this was such a great scene.
I just like the camera angles that they used. It was very either like very tall, so you get to see like the whole space, because we're still so soon into this movie. We're grasping for straws. We're like, where are we? But you get to see what will essentially be a lockbox drama in one little house, even though she does go over to other house, which looks exactly the same. So that only adds to the existential kerfuffle. But the filmmaker is teaching us how to watch this movie in these opening shots. And then there was one shot I kind of paused on, in which she's got that bristle brush and she's like, and the camera, it's like coming right at the camera. And then her face, it's just that look of determination. It actually kind of reminded me of American Beauty, when Annette Bening is like, I will sell this house today. I will sell this house today. I will. And then smacks the shit out of herself. I love that scene. Annette Bening, come on, she's the best.
There's a quick flashback in this scene wherein there's like a little brief snippet of chaos in the house, where the men are still there and Lizzie is there, and we hear one of the men shouting, Lizzie, we got to get the baby out. And then we see a shot.
It's a flashback.
This is a flashback within the cleaning up scene. And then
what's going on in Lizzie, like we get to assume this is what's going on in Lizzie's mind.
Yes, that she's thinking back to what led to this mess. And we see a quick shot of a pregnant belly. And we also see Lizzie grabbing like a knife.
Yeah. And listen, the way she grabs that knife, she ain't doing surgery. She is sacrificing for Satan.
Yeah.
She doesn't, like, her face is neutral, so we're not getting nothing there. But it's like she clutches that knife like she's in a horror movie. Yeah. And either she's being attacked or it's very Rosemary's Baby this moment.
Yes.
And she just goes, stab, cut. Like there is no, I was like, I know what's going on. We're not being shown it viscerally, but she is not trained in the medical profession.
No, she is doing a very poor job of getting this baby out of
or
Emma.
Very, she's like, it's a blunt instrument, let's say.
Yes. It doesn't show any of this. It's just all shoulder up, right? So you can see that she has the knife, but you just see her working with it. It's all on her face.
Yeah. Like she might as well be making beef jerky, to be honest.
Yeah. So she's outside, drying the linens after washing them, and then she realizes she's surrounded by wolves.
And in a very good scare. This is where I'm like, oh yay, we found a horror movie. Great.
Yes. And this is
the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack. This is where I thought the soundtrack aided us. The mumblecore, I could do. I'm a bit of a Shakespeare actor, so I'm like, I can't understand you. Please speak up, so those of us in the back row can hear. But this is where where it's just her, and it's that kind of soundtrack.
Yep.
And she hears growling, and she pulls the linen down, and there's two fucking wolves right on top of her. And this is fucking scary, because that's the reality of her situation.
Yeah, of where she lives. She hauls ass inside, manages to get the door shut in time, but again, good scare, because the wolves keep pounding at the door.
They keep pounding the door, and then one of them busts his muzzle through the wood, and that was scary.
Yes.
Very good scare. And she takes a ladle and just starts smacking the shit out of that wolf. Just pow, 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 pow. And the wolf disappears. But not disappears, because she's got like a little peephole she can look through.
Mm-hmm.
And she's looking through this peephole, and she sees something pass in front of it, and then another wolf muzzle, wah, like right in her face. She falls back, grabs a gun, shoots.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Jeffrey. Instead of a wolf like, which you'd expect, black smoke dissipates through her door, and you're like, what the literal fuck is just going? What is going? What? Huh?
Well, this is why I asked you the question at the beginning of the show. It's you clearly never killed a wolf before.
I've not. Is that what happens?
Their blood is smoke.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm a zoologist.
Thank you for that.
Sure. Yeah, it's super creepy. And while also the other way, when she fires the gun, she fires it a couple times. One, she fires low, but the noise is happening. And then when she kills it, she fires high like it's a man.
The smoke monster. Well, the smoke monster takes the shape of a full, like a 6 foot tall person.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it's
that's
still
crazy.
Smoke.
Yeah. I love Smoke Monster. I miss Smoke Monster.
I miss Smoke Monster, but not enough to go back and watch Lost again.
No, absolutely
I don't miss
not.
it that much.
Absolutely not. We jump back in time to Lizzie feeding goats. And this
was also confusing because I thought it was later the same day.
Yeah. Oh, I did.
Like,
yeah.
Surely
again,
she went out and she's just feeding the goat.
We're still in the first like third of this movie, so we're still not quite sure. It kind of dawns on you slowly what's happening.
I had not figured out the blue dress trick yet.
But these white goat, there's a particular white goat that she's feeding, and this is where we learn from Isaac, her husband, that tells her, "Hey, we've got new neighbors in the old cabin down the way. And this is going to be Emma and Gideon." And she says, "What are they like?" And he says, "Funny," is how he describes them. Yeah,
nervous. Oh, okay.
Not funny, haha. More funny.
More funny, like on edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we meet them. Emma and Gideon come over for dinner.
Yes, they do.
And it is very clear that they have no clue how to live on a prairie.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They are city folk.
They are.
It's like, we moved here from Chicago because he's a dick. And and it's like also just like the conversation. It's very funny, this conversation. It's not Chekhov. Okay. Like the dialogue, it's not that laden with stuff, but most of what is being said is subtext in this film.
Yeah.
Like it's not quite to Chekhov level, but there is so it's like, Emma looks over and she's like, oh no, is it her husband? Like the first thing out of her fucking husband's mouth, Gideon, who's like, "This is the best meal we've had in a while. Maybe you can give my wife some tips on how to cook." And Emma is like, "Did you just fucking say that? Did you literally?" I'm literally sitting right the fuck here. And Lizzie's like, "Oh my God. Yes, I would love to give your wife tips on cooking."
So
anyway,
like, it's so awkward.
Very awkward. But it's awkward in a very modern way.
Yeah.
This is my critique of this film. Costumes, lighting, set, acting style, directing style are all super modern.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, whoever costumed this film literally went to Anthropologie and just bought the store. I'm not joking. And I knew that as a compliment, but also I clocked it. So it was a very noticeable choice and style.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means this is the style of this film. And listen, because like it is prairie chic. There's like some brown dress that Lizzie puts on that I was like, girl, you look like you're going to a bat mitzvah or something. What is like, this is like, get it. She's got like some wrap. She's got some like wrap quilt, shawl, sweater that is, I swear to God, some rich lady shit out of Anthropologie.
Yeah. I clocked that to the style of this film. It definitely felt lower budget to me in that way. Like we're just going for essence of prairie look, essence of this is
just a whiff.
essence of frontier look. Yeah.
Yes. But it's still very modern, this movie,
Yeah,
in all of its sensibilities.
Yeah, very much so. And in fact, we talked about this in the movie Fresh, right? Like, and this is a recurring theme in a lot of films, but like this, it feels this one of the central themes of this movie is #believe women.
Oh
Right?
my God! I mean, that's
it is
literally
100% what this movie is about.
Yeah. Like literally at one point, like 45 minutes after the spot we're at right now, she's like, "Yeah, there's a demon. Why don't you leave? My husband doesn't believe me."
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh,
there it is.
That's the gist of this movie." Like, there we are,
folks. We have a theme.
We have a thesis right now,
which I think is a very, very like modern, 21st century sensibility as to how we approach male-female relationships.
Well, the idea of conspiracy, gaslighting, little white lies, big black lies, like all of that we're having major conversations about all that in every part of our fabric of our society. So it's interesting to go back. Like, I love the fact that the filmmaker decided to go back in time and look at something that is normally, Lonesome Dove, like some John Wayne flick or something like that. And it's like, no, we're going to talk about the exact same thing, just in, prairie drag.
Right. So we have this. So we've got the. Oh, let me reset that there. There's a pretty great line here where Emma asks Lizzie, "So how many people live around here?" And Lizzie says, 4.
Now,
meaning
4.
Now 4. Like the 4 of us. That's it, pal. Which is great. It's a nice, dry, funny line. So we cut back to present day, and Lizzie, after killing this wolf, steps out, and what she sees lying there is a dead goat with its side tore open, ribs exposed. And she goes back to wash her hands again. Out. She's like, "Damn spot. That shit. Out. Yeah.
Fuck all this." Yeah, there was a bit of that. I was like, it was very Lady M, wasn't it?
Yeah. And she goes to like lay down in bed, clutching her rifle.
Yeah. Which I was like, girl, I don't know what's going on, because I still don't know. Like, at this point in the film, you're like, you don't know what's going on. But if I saw a smoke monster that might be a wolf, yeah, I think I'd sleep with my gun as well.
Yeah. So a couple things, in these flashbacks to the past, a couple things that we learn in conversation with Emma and Gideon, in talking to Lizzie and Isaac, that we learned that Lizzie and Isaac did have, they get asked, "Do you have kids?" And they said, "Well, we had a son." And then Isaac jumps in and says, "It wasn't the Lord's will."
Oh, good. I know he is so taciturn. Is that the right word? Just like stone-faced throughout much of this film. Like, it is very like, when Isaac speaks, it is expected that other people will be quiet.
Yes.
Like, he has the final word. Because he knows more about farming than his new neighbors. And you get the feeling that is how their relationship is.
Yeah, and it's sort of like dead ending a conversation. It wasn't the Lord's will, just says, we're done here. It's it's a game ending.
No more follow-up question. No more follow-ups.
Yeah, there's nothing to add to that. And so it just kind of goes a little pear-shaped, that conversation. We also sort of watch Lizzie and Emma together. So there's a time where they're out in the garden and the men are building a shed.
Yeah.
And
this scene is so awkward.
It's really weird.
But it's also modern awkward. Like, again, I imagine this entire movie taking place in jeans and a t-shirt in Williamsburg, Brooklyn at times. You know? As in, like, the 2 women are working the community garden. She's like, "Okay, this is a carrot." I mean, this is literally the dialogue here, y'all. This is a carrot. Carrots are roots. You got to pull them up from the ground. Nope, not that. And Emma's like, "Oh, my nails. I'm going to go bring some water to the guys." And Lizzie's like, This fucking, oh my God, who the fuck is this? Okay, you go do that.
Well, and she's immediately suspicious of Emma because she watches Emma take water to Isaac first.
And well, it's not only that, she offers it to him to drink. Like so she's
From
like
she's holding the cup.
she's practically baby birding water into this man's mouth. And Lizzie is not happy. Rightfully so.
Yeah, there's definitely we've seeded distrust here. Like we've sown the seeds of distrust.
Zabadok, or whatever that demon was.
Oh my God.
Succotash.
Oh, we do get to see a list of the demons later in this movie.
Succotash, the demon of not Succotash, but it did look
of
like
black
succotash.
pepper and corn. Yeah.
That's right.
Succotash. No, Succotash is rabbit, right? No, that's
Succotash is lima beans and corn. Corn.
You're right.
And also the demon of deceit and jealous thoughts.
Yeah, there you go.
So just so you know.
So, oh, by the way, speaking of baby birding it, like there is a present day shot where the clothesline falls over and then Lizzie goes over and finds a dead baby bird and cradles it.
Yes.
Symbolism.
Yeah.
So also, this is the moment too in the present day after the baby bird. She looks up and just sees that white goat that was dead earlier. Yeah. That motherfucker alive and looking right at her. And she just goes and gets the shotgun and
she's like,
reshoots it.
That goat. Fuck that goat. Listen, this is the second best goat acting I have seen in a horror film in the last decade.
What was the other one?
Witch.
Oh, okay, perfect. I still haven't seen Witch yet. I have not watched this movie.
Listen, The Witch is phenomenal, and there is some goat acting.
Okay.
This is the lesser of the film, or the lesser of the goat actors.
But still solid.
Yeah. But still pretty solid. Some solid goat acting.
So one night in the past, Gideon bangs on their door and says Emma is not well.
So just so you know, this is the moment where I was like, okay, I've now figured out the rules of the game of the hopscotch that is this movie. It was this scene.
For me, it was the goat.
I thought that was a demon goat too. So I was on Lizzie. I was like, yeah, shoot that goat. Fuck that goat.
Shoot that fucking goat. So they go over to check in on Emma, and you know, Lizzie says,
we know Emma's very pregnant. We know, like, we've seen that Emma is pregnant.
Yeah, we don't.
Or is she? No,
we don't know.
You're
this.
Right.
We do not know this. Now we know we get the sense from the way that movie opened that she was pregnant when she died. We understand that, but
and she's buried with the baby.
And we did see her pregnant belly in the knife slashing, but we do not know yet. But we're about to find out that she is pregnant, or she claims to be. But it's interesting because outside the house, Lizzie says we don't all need to go in there because we don't all need to get sick.
We don't know what the sickness is.
Yeah, we don't know what the sickness is, and Gideon says it's not that kind of sick. So Emma is under the bed, just muttering, "It's coming for me. It's coming for me. Right? It's coming for me."
This actually, this reminded me a lot of the opening scene of the Suspiria remake with Chloe Grace Moretz, Chloe Grace Moretz, where she, oh my God, like, she is a force of nature. She's only in one scene, but it reminded me of this, of like, when the world, like, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get you. Right. And in this case, I think it's both.
Yeah. She says, she tells Lizzie, this place is wrong. We're not supposed to be here. And now it wants my baby. Ooh. Lizzie's a little bit like, oh, really? Oh. Lizzie's solution, which is, I want to salute her. I think this is a brilliant solution when your friend is freaking out, is to chloroform them.
No, this fucking scene, oh my God, it was when she walks out and like Emma's freaking out whenever she tries to touch her, anything, which, if you think demons are after you, yeah, that's a pretty normal response. It's, however, the line, Lizzie walks out of that house, she walks right up to Gideon, Emma's husband, and says, "Your wife is under the bed, tie her to it." And I was like, oh, damn, cold-blooded. Fuck. Listen, I know we're neighbors and all, but and this is where I began to suspect that Lizzie might not be the reliable narrator or the
Yeah.
reliable protagonist we think she is, because I think it's around here. She's like angrily brushing her hair.
Yeah.
Very angrily brushing her hair and talking to her husband. And she's like, now I have to take care of this person and And I was like, girl, no one's asking you to take care of anybody. You're putting your, like your husband's volunteering to go and get this dude on his feet. Like there is a bit of like you are sort of insinuating yourselves into these people's lives. I'm not like, I know this dude is bereft at his crazy wife, seemingly crazy wife, but you can say we're not at home. I'm not like, that is an option. I just want to
Yeah.
point out.
You
Like
can also say
like,
that's a your problem, not a me
right.
problem, right?
Like I said, good fences make good neighbors sometimes. To be
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do. Maybe you should take your wife to Cheyenne and go to the doctor.
Well, it's a little bit like if my neighbor came over and says, "Can you help me? Can you help me darn some holes in my socks?" I'd be like, "No," because I don't know the first thing about how to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So the time
Yeah.
I would spend looking it up on YouTube to help you is the time you could spend figuring it out yourself. And this is a little bit like that. Like we don't really know. I don't really know how to help you. Like I will be here for you.
Yeah.
If you need to come over and just take a
Yeah.
break and have a tea.
What do you
and
want? Do you want some like a pot roast? I like, listen, I'll make a lasagna.
can do that. Yep.
I'll bring flowers, like the usual thing. But it is, the undercurrent is, this is a women's problem, and only a woman can talk to a woman.
Yep.
So let's go get the nearest woman by 50 miles. Like it has the smackings of that.
Well, the other kind of like modern take on this too is the way in which women can that misogyny can be internalized.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the way in which the patriarchy works on Lizzie is the way that Lizzie can work on in a patriarchal way toward Emma. And her distrust and disdain for her, for somebody who I don't, for whatever reason, I mean, we don't even know if she was tucking it up with Isaac. I think that's pretty heavily implied, but it's not explicit.
Well, it's or it's
in her
whatever
head.
is going on in Emma's head is a mystery to us. And even then, it is a mystery to us and Lizzie, because she got the demon in her.
Yeah.
So it could be fucking anything.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's, like Lizzie does, she's like, well, I understand that she's fucking frustrated. She's like, I've got to give birth to a baby to a woman that may not, like, I don't even know if she is pregnant. Like this is what I have to do, because this is, quote, women's work on the prairie. And so here we go. Let's fucking give this baby a breech birth,
Yeah. Also in the past we have, this is where we get into these scenes with Emma and Lizzie talking about hearing something, hearing whispering. And Emma says that she told her husband
most of the dialogue.
Yeah, and
the vast majority of dialogue.
Emma told Gideon about it, but he just says it's just the wind. And Emma keeps talking about having, these bad premonitions all the way to on their trek out to this place. And this is right as the men are coming in, and Lizzie basically says, shut the fuck up. Don't be unpleasant in front of the men.
Yes. You can tell that Lizzie doesn't want to hear any of this.
No.
But Emma is very, very happy to share with anyone who will listen to her.
Yep.
Is she talking about demons yet? Because that's my favorite scene. Honestly,
because they're doing this. They're reading together this book called The Mysteries of Udolpho.
What is that book?
I don't know. It sounds.
Is that real? Did you look that up?
Oh no, that's a good question.
But here's what this book sounds like. It sounds like Fall of the House of Usher. It sounds like Edgar Allan Poe meets modern day, like 1800s scary novel, like kind of spooky, and like literally there's one point Lizzie's reading to a bedridden Emma, and she's like, we don't have to read this. And Emma's like, no, it's just a story in a book. What do you think? I'm stupid? Do you think I'm gonna kill myself and me baby and you? I would never do that. Where's your gun? You're like, oh my God, girl, put the book down. Please put the book down.
Oh, this is where I reveal that I'm absolutely not a literature major. The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe appeared in 4 volumes in May of 1794.
Okay.
It was her most popular novel. And it tells of Emily St. Aubert, who suffers misadventures that include the death of her mother and father, supernatural terrors, in a gloomy castle. And yeah,
Ooh.
it is actually referenced in Jane Austen's novel Northanger Abbey,
Oh wow.
and
Oh, that's
it's
fascinating.
often cited as the
American
arch.
author or British? American or British? It must be
Let's.
British.
I'm gonna guess she is English.
Okay.
It is often cited as the archetypical Gothic novel, and yeah, so there you go.
Wow, good. Spot on. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I think we might have a new book club book for tour.
we can read Mysteries of Udolpho from the back of the
Yeah,
van.
come
And
on.
if I ever
Let's
get
do it.
upset about anything, like a merch shipment doesn't arrive at one of our
Mhm.
venues, just come and chloroform me.
That's fine. I'll be like, shush, 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 shush.
You,
Where
you
am
do,
I? What's
you'll
although it's an American tour we're doing, so I think it's okay and not kidnapping if I take you unconscious across state borders.
Yeah, I think it's fine. You can just tell Symphony, you can be like, put him in bed and tie him to it.
Just shush, shush, shush. Yeah, that'd be fine. Can you imagine? You wake up one day and then you're like, hey, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
we're here for you. No, really. Everything we're doing is for your own good.
Oh my God. So we get another like flashback to flashback because previously we've been kind of going between present and past,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
the linear story of when Gideon and Emma arrived, and then the
Yep.
present day, the way the movie started, story right after Emma and the baby's death.
Blue dress,
Yeah.
trapped in the cabin alone. Yeah.
But now we get a super flashback to back when Lizzie was pregnant.
Right. Oh, I quite like this scene. This
I
was
do
very
too.
spooky.
She's doing the creepy thing of whisper singing a German
Oh my
lullaby.
God. I know. I thought about you. I was like, well, this is clearly a horror film. It's like, Nacht klein, mein little
Yes.
Kinder.
Schlaf kein.
Nacht klein, Nacht ist gut, my little kid. Oh, did I summon a demon? And this is so spooky because here's the thing where I love when horror movies reflect something that has happened to me that is spooky. So like, and I
Right.
assume that if it's happened to me, then it's happened to other people. I when I was a senior in college, I lived in a house, I went to college in the Midwest, and I lived in a big Midwestern 2-story barn, kind of prairie house kind of deal. And I was working my way through school. Over the summers, I worked at a local coffee shop that I could walk to, and that was how I afforded weed in
Nice.
college,
Uh-huh.
amongst and gas. But I had 2 roommates. They were back at home, so I had this big old house all to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was knitting. Oh my God, I sound like Little House on the fucking Prairie right now. I was knitting. And I shit you not, it was as if someone got very close to my ear and said, leave. And I put down the knitting and I left. I was like, nope, I'll go bye. Fuck me up. But it was there's no radio on. The record player was not on. The television was not on. There was no one in the house. And it fucked me up. That house was definitely haunted. That was the first. There was also a window that refused to be closed. That no matter how many times me or my roommates closed it would always be open in the attic. The attic also had a mini room inside the attic that was painted entirely black on the inside.
Nope.
So
nope, sure did not. It absolutely did not.
Listen, I lived there for a year. I went, how bad could it be? That was as bad as it got.
That ghost was helping you. That was a friendly ghost.
It said get out, so I got out.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm no dummy.
Yeah.
But what's even creepier is that she hears a noise. She hears a knock, knock, knock.
Mm-hmm.
Which, listen, the wind, the wind does crazy things. Then the wind goes knock, knock, knock again. Nobody's there. The lights are now systematically blowing out. Her candle blows out. Her front porch blows out. And then it sounds like her husband going, Lizzie, Lizzie. And she's like, oh, I know that I was spooked 2 seconds earlier, but surely this is my husband. It's not.
It's not.
Now the whole, like the fire in the fireplace blows out. Nope. Hard nope.
Yeah, it's it's a lot. He when Isaac does return home in this flashback, Lizzie is up in the loft rocking back and forth and just speed chanting prayers.
Speed praying in German, auf Deutsch.
Yeah. And he finds this pamphlet about demons called Demons of the Prairie that she's reading. It's like a little religious tract, and it's just got a cool demon drawing on the front and a list of demons in the middle, and he sees it. I love his order of operations here too, because here's the thing. If your wife is ever freaking out, boys, if your wife is ever really having a big, like something's really gotten to her where she's speed praying and rocking and chanting to herself.
And she looks like she's been up for 14 hours.
I need you to do two things, and this will solve it. This is what Isaac does, and I think it's great. One, if she's been reading a book, say you shouldn't read this and throw it on the fire. And then two, give her a rifle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's it. I mean, it's what women want. Cecil?
Is that what that movie's about? That's interesting.
Burn your wife's books and give her a rifle. And I think that's really
put a loaded gun in the hand of someone who's clearly having some sort of psychotic break.
And he says,
as a homosexual, I'm learning a lot about women.
I would like to educate people on straight culture. That's really what I'm trying to say.
Great.
And then he tells her, next time you think you see a demon, shoot it.
Oh my God.
Which is so fucking rude.
Dude. I was like, that is gonna be you. From that moment on, it's like, well, your fate is sealed. I mean, like, I knew it. And like, I was just like, well, it's literally, you just put a clock over your head called the Sword of Damocles clock. And it's gonna be when your wife gonna shoot you thinking you're a demon.
Or it's going to be Emma. Right? Like the biggest not secret in this movie of like, how did Emma die?
Oh, but no, it was Lizzie.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's Isaac gives Lizzie this gun.
Yeah.
So this is the super flashback when Lizzie lost her right after she lost her baby. Or right before she lost her baby.
And I'm trying to think, like,
this is way before. So this happens when he gives her that gun, says, if you see a demon, shoot, or if you think you see a demon, shoot it. This happens before Gideon and Emma ever move in.
Yeah. And then she miscarries.
Yes.
They bury the child.
Bury it with a Bible.
They bury, and then she puts the Bible, the family Bible, the German family Bible in a very shallow baby grave. And now we're back in the present day.
Yeah. I also like what she says when she buries the Bible. She basically says their son Samuel, who died at birth. She's basically says of Samuel, he'll get more reading out. He'll read this more than I will.
Which again, I'm like, Bible. Girl, you got a demon in you. No, that's demon talk. You're talking demon talk.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well. It's just like she's like holding the Bible, be like, "Ow, this is uncomfortable." Like it's a one step further, and it would have been funny, but it's like, no, this is. I don't think our heroine is our heroine. It might be our antagonist.
Yeah. So there's this present day thing where she is, so this is after Emma's death when the boys are gone, and she looks out of her house and she sees the light on at Gideon and Emma's. Just
would
all
you
the way
have gone over there? If like you live out in the country, right? I'm like, I don't know who's over there. It ain't gonna be me. Like,
I would be on HomeDepot.com looking up price of deadbolts and how soon they could ship one to me.
Yeah. I know. I do like her. As powerful as this demon is, it is befuddled by a chain.
Yeah.
Do you notice that? Like, literally, it's like, well, she latched the door and chained it. Never mind. I guess I'll come back tomorrow and wear somebody else's face.
She goes over to their house with the gun. And she starts hearing these whispers and she starts screaming back at them, like, what do you want now? And then at this point, she just starts shredding the shit out of these pillows, sending down into the air, just eyed her down fucking everywhere.
My
And then
my sarcastic ass was like, Gideon's going to be very confused when he gets home. Like, somebody broke into our house. Like, this is like Goldilocks shit. Somebody broke into our house, ate all of our food, tore up our pillows, shit on the bed, and then left.
Yes. Well, Ghost Emma appears and goes, Lizzie, where's your gun?
I didn't like the ghost Lizzie. I'm not
I
gonna
didn't,
lie.
or Ghost Emma.
I didn't
Yeah,
think
I
the
didn't.
film
No.
needed it.
No.
Because because Lizzie doesn't, she sees it and she's scared, and then we see her walking away, and it's very spooky music of like a woman with another woman walking behind. But I was like, I don't know if we need this. Like, it's all in, like, I wanted it to be more, you know, Swedish art house film, but it was a little more IFC Midnight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In the past, we get this flashback of Lizzie and Emma hanging out together, and Emma pregnant.
Yeah. Oh, this is the best scene. This is a good scene where she's like Succotash, the demon of jealousy. Mara, the demon of the child actor playing Matilda.
Babel, keeper of graves.
Babel. Actually, Babel sounds pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie.
That is pretty cool.
Babel.
Like, I liked Mara Dammer of Souls.
Head. Yeah, like
Mara Dammer. Yeah, you know? Mara's dope. Alistor, the executioner. I don't think she says out loud, but that's in the pamphlet.
I don't think I'd want to be friends with him, but I would definitely want to get his phone number.
Also, Jezebeth, demon of falsehood. Don't trust her.
Oh man, I don't trust her.
But no, listen, but hang out with her. No, go for drinks with Jezebeth.
You know she's a fucking good time. She's like, hey, watch this.
Yeah.
She's like glamours everyone in the bar. And you're like, that's awesome. Where are my keys and wallet and phone? Please do not touch my shit.
So, but yeah, this is the thing where she does all the demon names, but also she starts telling Lizzie, like, you know what I'm gonna name my baby? Guess if it's a girl. It's really fucked up. And so she's like, Mary, no.
Sarah,
no. And then finally,
I'll give you a hint.
It's one of the two names in this room.
You're like, shut up, girl. No, I would literally have picked my shit up and walked the fuck out on her. I'm sorry.
And presenting it in this way, like, it's one thing to say, it's one thing to tell like a close friend, hey, you mean so much to me, Cecil, you mean a lot. I'm having my firstborn son. I would like to name him Cecil because
the middle name.
You're so good.
It's not like,
yeah. But like, you two have known each other for 2 months. 6 months.
Well, that's why it's so uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable, and also the guessing game is even worse because it's one. The other thing was like, you could say, listen, I'm only alive because of you and Isaac helping. And if we have a baby, I wanted to name it after one of you because we haven't known each other long, but I'm alive because you helped us garden. You helped us fix our shed. You help us do this thing. That's a little presumptuous, but that's a way you could present the information that seems not crazy.
Not demon-like.
Yes. And she says, if it's a boy.
Oh, good Lord. And then we play this game, and she's like, first guess, Gideon. No, I'm not going to name it after the father. She's like, I don't know, Robert. She's like, no.
Well, she also says Samuel.
Oh, that's right. After the and she says, I'm not a monster. You're like, are you? I mean,
you are.
Could have fooled me.
So
I'm going to name it Isaac because his penis is so perfectly shaped. And you're like, oh my God, this girl, you get out. But now we know she can't get out because she's a woman and she's trapped.
Yeah.
And the wind is, you know,
the wind or the demon or the husband or whatever keeps her there. Yeah. So in present day, Lizzie on the downfilled floor of Emma's house finds Emma's diary.
Again, I'm like, why are you reading this book? Don't read that book. Don't read it. Throw it on the fire. Don't. Nope.
Mm-mm.
Like, that's like, you know, like when you see somebody that your friend, like you're at a bar or you're on Twitter or something, and somebody's like acting really wild and crazy, and maybe you believe like one or two, you're like, haha, that's kind of funny, but everything else they say is crazy. You don't need to delve deeper into their lives
No.
to know just how crazy. Trust your instincts. Walk away.
It's the real life example of like, don't feed the trolls. Like, you don't need to go every Twitter feed that says something bonkers. You don't need to go read their whole profile to see what other bonkers thing
No, you don't.
they have to say.
You don't, because you're just gonna like, no.
Nope.
But I was like, oh my God. And sure enough, entry 1, she's like, today I met a man. His name is Isaac, and his dick is perfectly shaped. And you're like, oh my God.
Well, she doesn't. She's not is super
out.
explicit other than just to be like,
it's not.
he's
I'm
real
joking.
charming and I like him. Like, he's real helpful around here. And then
it's a little more suggestive.
It is suggestive. It's very suggestive that maybe they spend a lot of time together.
Whatever would I do without him? Not without our neighbor. It's like, it's very focused on Isaac.
Yeah. And then when Lizzie gets to the phrase "our baby," she freaks out, tears out pages and throws them on the fire, jumps into bed and chloroforms herself. And I'm like,
I was
amen. Amen.
You know, must be nice. I'm like, if I don't have an Ambien, I am a bitch to deal with. I am a bear. Like, I am rough. And my Ambien supply is out. So Jeffrey, you better get that chloroform ready for tour, because you're gonna have to put me down after some shows.
I cackled. I like cackle. I dolphin laugh.
I mean, like, what do you do? Like, literally, what do you do when you're like trapped by your like, if you're unconscious, at least you're like not having to deal with this bullshit life of ghost monsters and, you know, Succotash, the demon of lies, and like all this fucking bullshit.
Yep. So,
but she wakes up the next day, and it's very much like it very much feels like an episode of Girls, in which like Lena Dunham is waking up with a hangover, is really how this reads.
So this is the next day when old man passes by her. This older guy passes by the preacher man.
Yeah.
Passes by her house, asks for some help, and she said she welcomes him in. She feeds him.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, I'm out spreading the word of God. And
like, amen.
And she says, I don't suspect God has much business out here. He's like, well, all right. And she tells him, listen, you can spend the night at the Harper's cabin. They're not here.
It's about a mile down.
Just get on the road in the morning, and but also do not answer the door after dark, even if it is me.
I know, right? That's like, what are you, a gremlin? Like, are there rules? Are you a fucking mogwai? What's happening here? and the look on his face is very much like, oh, all right. And you're like, no, don't answer the door.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is where honestly, I sometimes I watch movies. I like plays sometimes more than movies. I like movies sometimes more than plays, depending on what they are. But in a film like this, that is very like 5 characters, single location, I always think of it as like, here we go. Like, it's a play, kind of play vibes.
Yeah.
I could have watched so much more of the two of them. Like, I wish that this reverend, this outsider character had been more present, and we had gotten more background information from Lizzie.
Yeah.
In how she told her own story. This is just the movie in my mind. I understand why the filmmaker did what they did, but like, I was like, tight dialogue. Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh no. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah. He moved real fast. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in literally 3 scenes.
The thing that I didn't like about the preacher character is that I think it's the same thing you were saying, just from a different coming at it from a different angle, which is that the reason I wanted more of him is because from the get-go, I don't trust him. And there is a way in which we see this in horror movies all the time, of the help that arrives isn't the help you think it's going to be. Because sometimes that help is good meaning, but it dies or gets thwarted, or the help seems like it's going to help you, but then it turns out that help is not there to help you at all, which is the case of this preacher.
Yeah.
But you have to build, for me, I have to build a sense of who this guy is. Yeah. I want to sense that I can trust him, that maybe there is hope. Maybe he does take us out of there. But given the way this movie is structured. No, this is after the beginning, so anything could happen here. Like there's no sense that he's ever going to be of any use whatsoever.
No.
And in fact,
because sure enough,
he shows up that night.
The next thing she knows, there's somebody pounding at the door, and I loved her for this moment. She's like, "Show me your face," and I was like, "Good girl, good work. Yes, show me. Nope. Fooled me once, shame on the demon. Fooled me twice. The demon is inside the house."
Yeah. Well, he this preacher demon character is definitely sells that they're afraid of whatever it is out there.
There's something out here. Yeah. She lets him in. Get in the house quick.
He's says, like, "Why did you stay?" This is the line, "Why did you stay? Even though there's this whatever demon." And she says, "Well, my husband doesn't believe me." And then the preacher says, "Even with what happened to Emma, oh dear, I've said too much."
It's not, listen, it's not Poltergeist. Have you ever seen Poltergeist 2?
No.
There's an evil preacher in Poltergeist 2 that is so ham-handed, over the top, ridiculous that it's total camp funny. This is not that.
Yeah.
And yet in that moment you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Here we go.
She fucks right on out of there and goes
it's like he stands up and he grows to be like 8 feet tall. He's made out of smoke. The house is on fire, and she runs away.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
next morning, she finds him dead out in the desert out there, this prairie desert hybrid that we're at here, and then
somewhere in the Dakotas.
But when she gets back to her house, there's just dust all over the floor, and in the dust is the Bible she buried with Samuel.
Bible.
And she goes to sit by Samuel's grave with the rifle, and she puts the barrel of the rifle in her mouth, and then she hears horse approaching.
Yep. And I'm like,
that is Isaac. He's coming home. Don't know where Gideon went. We know where Gideon went. Gideon fucked right on off because we see
Gideon's back in Chicago.
Yeah, there's a U-Haul van in front of his cabin.
Oh, they're literally like, we actually see them unloading. This is where I was very angry. Like, it's like, okay, so the husband shows up, and clearly I don't trust anybody ever in my life, which is why I am 44 and single. But I'm like, that's not your husband, that's a demon, obviously. And then how do we know he's a demon? Because he's like, hey, they're packing up the other cabin. I got something just for you. And it's the giant trunk of Emma's. And it's like, and literally it's almost shot Pulp Fiction style, where it's like Lizzie's just like, because she knows exactly what this trunk is. She knows because she's been rifling through it, being all crazy at her neighbor's house. And I'm like, don't let that in your house. Be like, Isaac, my love, my only heart, light of my life. If that enters our house, I will leave you. Like I don't care what our neighbors' fucked up lives are that much that I need to go back in time and do research.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm not creating a true crime fiction podcast. I don't care what happened to them. Sell it, burn it. I don't want to see it.
And it's mostly their books, which I don't really want. Like, I don't need to read Angela's Ashes again. I'm fine. Yeah,
I'm fine. I don't need to know how, no, I don't need to look at baby scrapbook photo.
No,
not in our house.
No. So, he mentions to her when he does arrive on horse before the trunk full of shit, she's got her rifle drawn on him. Yeah. And he has to kind of talk her down from not shooting him. And he basically says, hey, I saw the Reverend passing by. He said you were really hospitable.
She's like, did you know? Oh, that's fucked up. Because I shot him in the face. Or he turned into a smoke monster or something.
So
interesting.
In this box of shit, in this trunk full of shit, there's the Demons of the Prairie tract.
Of course, just happens to fall out onto the floor.
Yep. And she starts flipping through it, and Isaac sees the tract. He says, I burned this. She's like, well, it's a tract, and Emma had one
there's
too.
A million of them. Yeah.
And she says there's something out there, and he just says nothing good can come from reading this. So he said they talk about Emma, and he says, basically like stop complaining about Emma being dead. Like she ended her own life. That's just how it is. And she says, I'm not sure she did.
Yeah.
And he stands up and screams, there's nothing out there, and fucks off. So
clearly things are going well in South Dakota.
So when he's gone from the house, the wind comes again and blows open the door and the windows and basically throws Lizzie around the house.
It like explodes. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
getting real rough.
And
like whenever she tries to get the gun, it won't let her.
It throws her up in the air,
like,
and
the demon's like, no. Okay, playtime's over. Like, time to inhabit your body now, or do whatever this demon's doing.
It basically throws her to the floor, and she lands belly first onto a pair of upturned scissors that go into her gut,
like a la Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah. And then when she wakes up, there's Isaac hunched over her bed, holding the tract, being like, how long have you had this? And when Lizzie kind of looks around, she realizes this motherfucker tied her to the bed.
Yeah.
And he says, how did she get your gun, Lizzie? So somehow now Isaac has gone from, you know what, it's sad that Emma killed herself, to wait a minute,
she get her hands on a gun?
And I'm piecing this together. Something weird is up with this suicide. And he says she was pregnant and you killed her.
And then we get a flashback. And sure enough, that was correct.
It's seemingly like drunk Emma in the rainy field at night, like prancing about, being weird.
Again, it was like, I don't think we needed this. I would rather have lived in the mystery. Like if this had been a play, like we would have lived in the mystery of did she, didn't she?
I agree, because I think realizing that she did isn't that big. It's not that big of a shock. Like, it's a thing you suspect from the beginning. There is no like real mystery here.
Did she kill her friend, or did her friend kill her? It doesn't matter. There's a demon afoot.
Yes.
But I think for the, probably there's a bunch of producers and there's a bunch of people greenlighting things. And they're like, we must hit the nail on the head 3 times in order for the audience to understand what is actually going on here. And I feel like this was like time number 2 that they.
I feel like this plot point is. I think that's the great way of saying it. I think that's really puts a finger on it, which is, I don't think we need to see Ghost Emma or flashback of how Emma really died, because the plot of how Emma died is so unimportant to the story.
Yeah. It's more about what Lizzie's doing right now, and how like a monologue from Lizzie would have been welcome at this point. She'd be like, if she had, like fucking Tennessee Williams herself, and just be like, I remember that night the calla lilies were in bloom. And, if she had done that, I'd be all about it. But I'm a homosexual, so what the fuck do I know? So
one of the things that Isaac clearly has very little experience in kidnapping people and tying them to something.
Oh, I was going to say, knowing that there's a demon in the room.
Well, he's very little experience in accepting that, but he's also very bad at holding somebody prisoner, because he ties her up pretty loosely. And 2, there's just a glass shard on the nightstand.
There's just broken glass like everywhere. Yeah.
So she's like, well, shit, I'll take a piece of broken glass, cut myself loose, and be like, yeah, let's stab this dude in the throat, which she does.
Well, she is seeing Black Smoke Monster literally above his head.
Yeah.
And at one point he yells at her, and his eyes, they do that thing where it go all black, like we're in an anime film. So, can't blame her.
Yeah. So yeah,
and then we have the flashest of the flashest of the flashbacks. The backest of the flashbacks, which is the first time she meets the Reverend.
Which is when she and Isaac were coming to this place the first time. Yeah.
And some dude walks up to her and goes, here's the Bible. And she's like, I got a Bible. Well, you never can be too careful, and hands her the tract. So, and that's the film.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, and she says, and as she gets handed this Demons of the Prairie tract in this flashback, she starts flipping through it and she tells Isaac there's something out there. And he's like, nah, it's fine. The end.
But it is implied, at least I interpreted the end of this film. This film is open to interpretation, so this is just mine. But this is how I read that as, here she is trapped in a marriage that they love each other. We actually see they're very attractive people. We get a Little House on the Prairie sex scene. They're very attractive together. However, because of the time that she lives in, either this is a construct of, like anti-feminist, like misogyny that has manifested itself inside her brain. It's become so large that it's now become like a psychosis, or she met a fucking demon. The demon wears the face of a preacher, a la Stephen King novel, gave her a tract and said, I'm coming back for you.
Yeah.
And marked her. And that's how because that mark on her wrist from shot 2, never explained.
No.
Like, we know that Emma is buried. She has the mark. So that was a thread that was lost in the quilt for me.
Yeah.
But I think those are the two. I can live with either of those. Those are just my interpretations.
I think this movie is so intriguing when it is setting up questions, when it is stirring the pot of questions. I found it less interesting when information was being revealed. But those first, I think the first like 10 minutes of near silence of this movie are so intriguing. I think it's so alluring. There's so many like tableaus and stagey moments that just set up, here's a photograph, tell me what you see in the photograph. It feels, or just, it's just like a Rorschach test. Like
just that shot of a woman naked in a bathtub while a man faceless stands over her fully clothed. You're like, everything about this mise en scène says ominous.
Yeah, totally. Well, shall we rate this movie?
Yes, let's.
How approachable is this film if you are horror film averse on our Sasha scale of squeamish approachability scale for the horror averse, with 1 being the least approachable and a 10 being super approachable? I would give The Wind like 8 demon tracks out of 10. Like, it feels way more like a frontier psychological thriller than like horror. Like, I mean, heads up for the movie centering around infant death and suicide. But there's like a jump scare. It's a good one with the wolf. There's like a jump scare, and we do see all that blood getting cleaned up early on, and we do see Emma's body getting buried. But it's mostly like the violence is mostly obliquely shot. Like, it's not. It's I don't know. I think you could watch a pretty dark, intense psychological drama and feel the same level of scares at that. So I think horror movie wise, it's super approachable if you're like, I don't want to see horror. And it's I think it's got a lot of interesting things going on. It's definitely, if you're interested in like shifting ways in which we deal with narrative structure, I think this is such an easily approachable film for that. Cecil, what about you as a horror film?
As a horror film, it was really cool getting to watch something very modern. Like I said, this is a very modern feeling film, even though it takes place in ye olden days of America. It's beautifully shot. The acting is very good. The script is interesting. I thought it could have been more. I wanted more play on my film, if that makes any sense, more theater in my film. But as a film, it's pretty fucking dope. It is slow.
Yeah.
It is as my friend said, it is a film you must lean into. So if you're in the mood to lean into a film and you want some creepy on the Little House on the Prairie demons, I'd give this a 5 out of 10 family German Bibles.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let's figure out what movie we will watch next. You got a scare die, got a style dial. We'll roll them up and see what match that creates for our next film. So if you roll a 1, Cecil, our next movie's scare has to be witchy. 2, alien. 3, psycho killer. 4, tiny blank. 5, vampire. 6, zombie. What is our scare?
That's a 3.
We're going to get a psycho killer.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
We'll match that with the style I roll. If I roll a 1, our style of psycho killer movie has to be something with a twist ending. 2, something in the action fantasy genre. 3, 1970s. 4, Apocalypse. 5, Wildcard, whatever psycho killer horror movie we want. And 6, European horror. Whoops, that went off the table. Let's try that again. I got a 1, psycho killer with a twist ending.
Oh, we've got some fun ones.
Yeah, there's going to be some good ones on here. So we put a little list together for ourselves, but also we always ask folks on our Letterboxd. We're Random Horror 9 on Letterboxd, and ask people to chime in, and we have a lot of suggestions on there. Okay, so got a couple that I threw up on here. April Fool's Day. It's an 80s, maybe early 90s.
Very twist ending, if I remember correctly.
Very straight up twist ending. The Visit, M. Night Shyamalan's 2015 film, is also got a M. Night Shyamalan. It's going to have a twist.
It's a pretty twist ending. Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp and Diabolique, I'm less familiar with these movies.
Okay, so it's Sleepaway Camp is it's teenagers at camp. Somebody is dying. I won't tell you the twist or the twist ending. It's about the killer. But I will say this film is in the LGBT canon as one of the more interesting odd gems of that era. That's all I'm going to say. Diabolique is actually a black and white film made in France. It's kind of like been cited as like one of the films that inspired Alfred Hitchcock, inspired a lot of filmmakers that make thrillers. It literally has a thing that comes up at the end that says, "Do not spoil this movie for your friends and tell them the twist ending." Okay, love it. Fully, it's like the Mousetrap in London, where they tell you not to spoil it. Yeah, that's it.
Another one that I threw on there, it's not on this spreadsheet, but I put it up on Letterboxd, is X. Ty West's film X.
Is this a twist ending? It just seemed like I've not seen this. I've not seen any of this. Like this, there's a prequel or something like that. I don't know.
Twist is it just goes in a direction that you are not expecting at the end. Cool. I don't know if twist, like to put it up against something like April Fool's Day or The Visit. Right. Not quite.
Is it a twist or is it just like bananas?
Yeah. Okay. So like both. A lot of suggestions from Letterboxd users. I'll kind of move quickly through these because we have so many. Ed Cuddy suggested High Tension.
Yes, this definitely has a twist ending. This is a good one. This is very intense, and it's definitely about a psycho killer.
Josh Ludd threw out God Told Me To from 1976. Don't know this movie.
This has been on my list for a minute. This is one of those like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer that was like, I feel like has earned its reputation as being a cult favorite amongst horror watchers because I don't know too much about it, but it's like gritty, brutal, real. I don't know what the twist is.
Yeah. It's a New York detective investigating murders committed by random New Yorkers who claim that God told them to.
Yeah, so very Son of Sam inspired would be my guess.
Katie threw out both Fear Street 1994 and Last Night in Soho.
I love that. I love Fear Street. Here's the thing. It's a 3-part. It's like 3 freaking movies in one. And yes, there is a big twist at the end of the last one, but you got to go through the whole thing from the very beginning, in my humble opinion, to get to that twist. So I might put the kibosh on that because I don't know if I have 6 hours of movie watching in me this week.
Henrik Erlendsson threw out Hypnosis, which is a 1999 Japanese film. Do not know this movie at all. So I'm not getting a ton of info right away, so I'm gonna keep moving to other ones here. JB Wolf, Student Bodies.
Don't know it.
Brave Crab throughout Orphan. That's a classic.
That's a good one. Yeah, that is definitely, and there's a big twist at the end of that one for sure.
Yep.
That one I got. Thank you, Brave Crab.
Roxanne West throughout Strange Behavior, 1981, also called Dead Kids. It's an Ozploitation slasher film with elements of classic 50s horror, weird science B movies throughout. A couple of solid twists along the way. Sounds really intriguing. Paul Richards says No One Lives, 2013.
Never heard of it.
A special shout out to Maniac Cop.
It's just
Diamond
like
Dogs.
I can't also to like, Paul, do you really just want us to watch Maniac Cop? That's what it sounds like.
I think so too. Which I'm happy to. Dress to Kill from Diamond Dogs is another suggestion. I don't know
Yeah,
Dress to
yeah.
Kill.
I've seen it quite a few times. It's an excellently made film. Talk to your trans friends about that film.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Arcane Ghosties, The Retaliators, 2021. It's more like a middle almost end twist, but it's decent. It's decent is a good selling point.
They're like, it tastes like a film.
Yeah. Benjamin Barron throughout Sightseers, the Ben Wheatley and Alice Lowe film. Ben Wheatley is somebody we've covered with Kill List.
Yes.
And also
British filmmaker. Yeah. It seems like he seems like would put a twist ending.
And Alice Lowe did God, what was the pregnancy movie?
Prevenge.
Prevenge, that's it.
Yeah.
Peter Burt throughout Saw.
Well,
that's
true.
That's
true.
That's true.
Yeah, is that a twist? Yeah, it's twisty. Yeah,
it's got a good solid twist.
Yeah.
Ken Burt also throughout Sleepaway Camp, Toast
great.
Crumble, Zone 414.
Never heard of it.
Don't know it. And finally, we had so many. There's so much here. Atomic Baz says Who Invited Them, which is a 2022 film.
For that. There's a couple of like The Invitation. There's a couple that all float around. I'm like, oh, is someone throwing a dinner party? Let me guess, things are not what they appear to be.
Yeah. Okay, this is interesting. So there's a few.
We have a lot.
We have so much here.
Okay, I'm going to take us back to our brief. Psycho Killer, twist ending.
April Fool's Day.
Yep.
Sleepaway Camp.
Yep.
Are both really, really good. I think The Visit would fit in there as well.
Is it The Visit? That's the one of the two kids visiting grandma and grandpa's house, and grandma. Less Psycho Killer. That to me is less Psycho Killer than it is like because let me say, what's wrong with grandma? Like that's not a Psycho Killer.
That's true.
That is something else.
All right, so let's scratch that one. I think Orphan,
yes,
fit this.
High Tension, yes.
Oh, High Tension, of course.
Yes. Do we have 6 yet?
Okay, so here's what we have.
I say we roll for it because we've got a lot.
Okay, so
I'd even I'm curious about this strange behavior Ozploitation, but it sounds like there's a Roxanne, there was a lot going on in that description. I'm gonna have to do some research and get back to you on that.
All right,
honestly, Saw, I would put Saw on there as well.
Well, what do we say to this? We've got, I'm retyping on this list
6.
here.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we roll a 1, we've got Diabolique, 2, April Fool's Day, 3, High Tension. Thank you, Ed Cuddy, for that one. 4, Sleepaway Camp. 5, Orphan. Thank you, Brave Crab, for that. And if you roll a 6, it's Saw. Thank you, Peter Burt, for that one. So roll it up. What are we going to watch next?
That's a 4.
Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, yes.
Awesome. Well, let's hit back to the 80s
here. This film.
We had a nice break from the 80s, and I'm happy to go back to them now. We did.
It's low 80s. It feels way more 70s than 80s.
Okay. Well, that was fun. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. And if you have thoughts on The Wind or ideas for other movies that would have been good, Psycho Killer meets twist ending, let us know on Twitter or Instagram at Random Horror 9, and watch Sleepaway Camp with us this week. And come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no neighbors trying to chloroform you or nothing. Boo.
Boo.